Welcome back again to the Unlearning podcast. I am here with Karl Forehand, JD Forehand, and I am Stuart Delony. If you want to be able to reach out to us anytime, the Unlearning podcast at gmail.com. And in our last session, we were talking about James Dobson. And in our in-between talk, JD, I think you should recommend some of the podcasts that you were just recommending as well too.
I meant to put them on there. I meant to say them at the end, but I forgot. I got caught up in trying to get the last word in. I tried to steal Dad's thunder, which I did successfully.
Yay!
The two podcasts that I used, and I haven't watched. One of them is called "I Hate James Dobson," it's just two clinicians, two psychologists, which is also like really interesting to listen to them kind of break down some of the psychology that goes into some of this. They just one of the guys was raised with a lot of like focus on the family stuff, etc. And then it's his, I think, female friend, and they just it's his colleague, and they just go through it. It's really good. There's a bunch of episodes they just go through the first episode's intro, other episodes just go through his book and talk about like the issues obviously with each of his books. And then there's another another podcast about natalism called Ill Conceived, which is a really new podcast, but they just had an episode. Their fourth episode, something like that, is about James Dobson and focus on the family. It's pretty short, but it's like punchy. It's got a lot of the information I talked about is in there, but I think they have a little bit more there. It's a little bit longer than we did for the last session. So yeah, go check those out. I'd recommend them. So far, they've been very informative. So
excellent. Yeah,
if you ever need
I always love being able to recommend stuff because we talk about so many things and we riffed on it, and there's probably more professional folks out there that have a more of a clinical eye on it as well. So
they're not as fun as us, though.
Not at all.
We lower the bar.
Fans said we were funny earlier today. So if we look a little groggy, it's because we worked hard on the first two episodes already.
If we look groggy, it's just because JD. Right now, what is it? It's almost midnight for you?
It's 11:54 right now, and I went out. Yeah, I've been like going basically all day. I had to go do some work for a different thing I do, because now in modern day capitalism, you have to have like 6 different jobs. So I did that, and then did photography, took a super long walk. Then from like 1 p.m., I basically worked on the James Dobson stuff, and then I studied Taiwanese for an hour and a half. Then I had Taiwanese class for an hour, and now we're doing this directly after.
Now we're here.
A little tired.
You know how to
We're grateful for your presence.
Yes.
I enjoy being here. I enjoy your presence too. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. But I love you boys.
There we go.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a good way to start with the love in this group, because we're about to launch into something that's not very loving. Because we're going to be talking about the tragedy at Camp Mystic in Texas. It was a evangelical camp. If you look at their website, it looks like an all-white girls camp. You can find a little pigmentation in a few of the pictures of kids in the background, but I wouldn't even call it token images. This is a very much like an evangelical white camp where all of this happened. And when we're reeling from this, and we're not trying to make light here of the tragedy, but this wasn't simply about Camp Mystic being hit by a freak storm. This was like hit by like a century of like spiritual negligence. And like that's like wrapped in sentimentality. And so for the scope of what we're talking about, we'll be talking today, a little bit about Camp Mystic and stuff, but also I think all of us have had experiences at various Christian camps that are probably not don't follow OSHA the way they should as well too, for compliance and safety, but because Jesus will save us from that.
Yeah, like Pastor Josh said, no one should be intruding on our lives. So we have steps that are broken off, and we just put some painter's tape on them or something instead of fixing them. And that's where it starts.
Yeah. What? Who said that? Which pastor said that? Are you
Pastor Josh from our previous episode?
He said that about steps being broken off and painter's tape?
No, he didn't say that. But
that
he
sounds
said
like
he can't ignore the IRS. And
it sounds like someone read my article as well too, because I think you're referencing when I wrote an article about this. It was a similar summer camp that they would hire me every summer for like a week or so, and I was the speaker. My family could come, and we would go because it was like,
that was a great article. It was really good.
We're missionaries. This is free. It's like a vacation. I get paid to be here. But like we'd been there several years, and they always had these concrete stairs that there had been erosion around the lake, and the concrete stairs stopped, and then there's probably about a 3-foot drop onto rocks. And my youngest, when he was about 5, just wasn't paying attention to us or listening to us, and we weren't.
You should have been beating the shit out of him.
Yeah,
by the
the
way.
devil was inside him.
We should have. I should have gotten my belt.
I
But no,
understand.
my son Samuel he walks over and we're like, don't go over there. And then of course he does. And then he falls like 3 feet and he gets all like scratched up and everything. And we mentioned this to the camp, like, oh, we'll fix this. We go back next year. I mean, well, during the camp, they just put painter's tape X over it to not do that. And then the next year, the only thing that was different was the painter's tape was gone. It hadn't done anything.
So they just made it worse.
Worn out.
Yep. It's like a rite of passage in these kind of camps as well, too.
Yeah.
That's a
Jesus
great
bled
article.
for you. You can bleed for the camp.
What's that blog called? Because it was great. It was really, really good.
You're talking about my Snarky Faith blog?
Yes.
On the Camp Mystic as well, too. Yeah.
That's on Substack.
It's on Pathos.
Pathos. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Karl. I'm terrible at self-promotion, so I need a cheerleader.
I shared it. So I very rarely share other people's podcasts, not because I'm selfish or anything. Just I don't love things on Facebook. I always like them because I want to save room for when the good ones are. So you know what I mean. So I don't want to be sharing 10 people's podcasts a day. I want to share the one that really impacted me and that I really, really liked, and you won't be sorry that you read it. So, but that blog was really good. So I'm glad you're reading this.
But for you, Karl, are these like the layers of love? There's like
it's how
thumbs up, the heart, and the share.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Judiciously.
That's how we know.
The angry
in a
face
godly
just means he
way.
wants
I
to
like
hit
to
you.
think about it.
Now, I just want to say this too. We are like this is a tragedy that we're making fun of Christian camps and really just pointing this out. But like there were 27 people that died at Camp Mystic, like 18 adults, 9 children. There may be. I mean, that was at least at the last time of reporting that I was able to find. But the issue here is this camp has a long history of flooding, cabins destroyed in the 30s. Counselors' cars swept away in the 70s. Like pregnant woman was airlifted out of there in the 80s. They've had other damage that has happened there. There's been a flood warning system that was put into effect, but it was eventually dismantled and never replaced. They had been warned hours before, but still did nothing. And so, yeah, I'm curious for you guys, like, what is your reaction to this too? Because it's not simply just a tragedy, but I feel like this is a preventable tragedy, and it's at a Christian camp, and it kind of feels like there's a theme here.
I think it's also related to what we talked about before. It's this long systemic dismantling, oftentimes through Christian organizations, but not only, of just we need to gut any of these things that help people. I mean, we used to, when I was in junior high school, we lived in a place that flooded constantly. It would flood every year or two almost, and there just wasn't much done to really deal with it. How much could be done is debatable, but certainly more could have been done. And then again, in like the aftermath and things like that, for instance, like it was kind of like a running joke that FEMA was like shitty and would like not come in. We, like me and my buddies, when we were 15, 16 years old, we would drive around in my pickup truck or my friend's pickup truck and clean up people's trash because FEMA wouldn't come in for 2-3 weeks. And it's like, it's not really that FEMA sucks. It's that the government, especially under the W. Bush administration, defunded that shit and wouldn't pay them to go actually help people out. And then they can turn to that and go, look how shitty these are. We should cut them even more. It's like, no, you should fucking fund them. Because if you fund them, then maybe they'll be able to help people more quickly. Yeah. It happened again. The same thing happened right before the flooding at Camp Mystic. Like they're funding FEMA. They're funding all these
companies. They were funded under Biden, but then there was so much just pushback and weird stories and false stories and things that this stuff didn't even get there. I mean, it was really hyper organized and prepared for some of the tragedies, but it didn't get there because of that thinking that those are blue places or whatever the reason is for not responding. I don't know why they wouldn't respond to Texas. Red, it's pretty red, you know. But anyway, I don't understand the connection to any kind of morality that says we shouldn't help the least of these, or the people in most distress, or the people that are hurting, the people that have lost loved ones, and why we wouldn't hold accountable people that for a few dollars, for a little bit of recognition, create a place that's dangerous to children. Why can't we have a little accountability for them? At least I know they're not a business or whatever, technically, but they're getting tax breaks. They're getting all kinds of advantages by being a religious organization. But the way they choose to be responsible about that is to be irresponsible and say God will protect us, or whatever they say to excuse away not spending some of the money they earned to fix those problems, or maybe get a grant or something to help them elevate the property or something, or whatever.
No, I think it's all
they've actually rebuilt cabins there in safer areas, but kept the ones that are in the known floodplain, which are the ones where the girls died.
Is that where the people of color stayed? Or I don't want to start anything here.
Would not be surprising.
Yeah.
Again, I just think it's that people don't, and even I think probably a lot of people who would theoretically be on the side of those people, these like Christian camps and stuff, they're disconnected from it. And because, again, Trump owns the libs, they're fine with it. And I think, again, the Democrats do this too. When Biden was in office and there was flooding in Republican places, like in places like Texas, you would see online people going, fuck them, like they voted for Trump. And it's like, no, there are people. They're people. Like, even if you want to do the nationalistic thing and go, they're Americans, that's something. But like, they're people. We're going to take care of them. I don't care if we have to drag them kicking and screaming into being safer. They're going to be safer because they're people, and we have to have some modicum of humanity. Like, come on, people. Like, it shouldn't be this difficult, but it is, because I think in large part due to social media, but not only due to social media. We've done this for millennia. It's just we just are so fucking tribal to the point where we will cut off our nose to spite our own face. We'll destroy our own country just to, again, own the libs on Twitter, or like get a quick hit on someone who we think slighted us in some way because they voted for some other candidate.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who we mentioned last episode,
get fucked.
Once again was on vacation and didn't come back from his vacation because this wasn't serious.
One of these days, I hope he doesn't ever come back from one of those vacations.
It's true.
Yeah. Stuart, we have some more details. How many kids died?
Yeah, we had, it was 18 adults and 9 children so far that have died from it too.
Wow.
And it's just incredible that this happens, but also like to the point of what you were saying too, JD, with FEMA, and this is going to become a problem more and more, even though I know the administration wants to ignore the science behind like climate change and what's happening now. And especially at this time, I mean, their way of dealing with climate change is we're just not going to make any more reports about climate change. We're going to cover up all this stuff and it will go away. But even trying to dismantle FEMA, I mean, this is something that goes to all Americans.
Yeah.
When we're talking about this, like everyone pays their taxes, tragedy happens to people that it's not like it's selective, like a lot of conservatives want to where, somehow God is punishing the evil, whether it be Haiti or other places like this. No, this is like hitting us. Like our state still hasn't gotten funding from the hurricane that like hit Asheville like a year or 2 ago. I don't know. And so they're still playing these types of games. But again, these are people's lives being destroyed and not being able to give anyone some sort of a safety net for this kind of destruction, and when it's going to become a bigger and bigger problem.
Yeah, and it's gonna keep getting worse because, like, again, climate change is going to make it worse. And my thing is, I don't think people realize it until it hits them, and that's the very unfortunate thing is that we've lost any ability to find empathy. But again, it's not new. That we like look at when Hurricane Katrina came, what were all the pastors saying? It's because we're legalizing gay marriage, because gays are getting married. And during the research I was looking at for James Dobson, it was the same shit. What's the reason for all the bad things happening in the world? Well, it's because guys are having butt sex. Like, it's not. It's an anthropomorphic climate change. Like, come on, people. Like, it shouldn't be this hard, but again, it's much easier to demonize people than it is to actually just like look at the science and come together and be like, well, I don't really fucking like this guy, but like if we don't work together, we're all going to be fucked. But I don't know how you make people do that besides a couple of your kids get fucking needlessly murdered in a flood. It's disgusting.
But it is terrible that it takes like tragedy to actually like open people's eyes. Sometimes.
Well, it takes tragedy happening to you or your kids,
Yep.
because it's the same thing, mass shooting, whatever you want to talk about. It's the same thing over and over again. Well, I want to keep my, it's like, okay, listen, I'm in favor of, we want to talk about guns. I love guns. They're very fun, but we can't even do basic regulation. We can't do anything. No, we just have to let it go. But then those same people, well, you lose your kid at the school, and then you start to get involved. But if that's what it takes, is for each person to be affected individually, like it's going to be too late before we actually do anything. So we got to start having empathy. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Mom and I have been watching this show by Henry Winkler. I don't remember the exact name of it. Hazardous History, or
with Fonzie? Is that
Fonzie? Yeah, Fonzie's leading this discussion. They're going back in history, in our recent history, in the last couple hundred years, of how, like, at one time they played polo with cars, and this got popular and was in stadiums and so on. But I mean, people were running over the referees and killing them, falling out of the vehicles, and
why didn't the referees get cars? That's stupid.
That would have been a good thought then, right? They'd be a little bit safer, I suppose. They're not as nimble or whatever. And like, how football started out without any protection, and they're just really kind of running into each other as hard as they can, and dying and suffering severe injury. And, so things are progressing. It talked about, living in a time when there was hundreds of tons of horse manure all over the ground because it was all horses, right? And then we got cars, and then cars weren't safe, and there's no rules, and you just
running over children in the street,
right, crashing into each other. And so in one way we look back at history and go, okay, we made some progress, right? But I believe people still kind of have that thing in them of the Colosseums. It was said of the Colosseums, even though they segregated people and all this kind of stuff, they came for the spectacle. And I believe circuses. I believe we're still doing that. I believe the WNBA is a good example of that. You can watch that all playing out. We just like the spectacle. If we get down to it, we like those players beating up on each other, so we can talk about it the next day and so on. But what's lacking in all of that is the church has never been a voice in refining those things like that hurt people. Just try to argue with me about that. The church has never, they spoke up about what they believe and defending what they believe. They spoke up for, having the right to do things their own way instead of you telling them what to do. But they very rarely speak up for the least of these. They're not going to get involved in saying, yes, we need reform and we need to do these camps better. And let's all work together. Let's get some funding. Let's maybe write a grant, and let's figure out how to do this better. But the church doesn't seem to be interested in that. And I say no churches. I know very few that, outwardly, powerfully make reforms. The church is really not about reformation like it says. Sometimes it is. It's really about keeping what I have, keeping what I've invested my time in, preserving it. It should be eternal. It should be like it always was, or how I always imagined it. And end of my rant. But I haven't ever seen the church in a meaningful way, except maybe parts of the church for civil rights, and situations like that where they said, enough is enough. We got to stand up to this, and we got to have some meaningful change because people are getting hurt. And just probably would have been invaluable to be a fly on the wall at most churches around that area. Oh, let's have some prayer for the kids that died, but probably no speech or no effort given to, we got to change this. We got to make it safer. We got to care about the kids more than our bottom line or more than our uncomfortableness.
Can you imagine the churches in the area, like, just either sending people in or ponying up money to be able to, like, build new cabins or tear down the other ones and put this stuff up to do safe things? I mean, that's just what blows my mind. And on top of it too, because I think the camp they didn't pay for insurance. I think it was some sort of there's a compliance service that raises into certain standards that a lot of the other camps had in the area, they did not want to pay for that, because when you're trying to raise your standards, that costs money. I have to change things. I don't like that. But you're right, Karl. I mean, the idea that tradition and sentimentality outweigh like just what do you see with your damn eyes? Like what needs to be fixed around here? How can we help? The church is ultimately selfish.
Out by like Pastor Josh. We talked about, that was my reference earlier that I didn't make real well. But just you go back to him and say, the IRS can't tell me what to do. I don't have to obey the law. I don't have to care. In this case, you can't force me to care about those kids, even though I say I do, and even though I say we're doing the camp for the kids. But really, we just want them to be indoctrinated into our way of thinking. We don't really care about their safety. And it'll make them tougher to be unsafe and teach them how to survive. And I would just say there's enough dangerous things in the world and things you're going to run into accidentally. We don't need to create more environments of unsafety.
Yeah, especially when it's life or death for children. You could I think playing in the woods and stuff like that is good, getting scrapes and stuff like that, but there's no reason, like Stuart, you were talking about, falling 3 feet unnecessarily onto rocks. Like it's insane. And again, it's similar to what Dad you were talking about earlier with this idea of we got spanked and we turned out fine. Like, we played outside and we ate paint chips and we fell down stairs and we were fine. It's like, no, you're fucking not. Like, you're not okay. You need a serious counseling, actually. So maybe we need to deal with that. But again, there seems to be, and part of this is because I think they're with social media and things like that, we're trying to pay attention to everything at once, and it's overwhelming. And people just want easy answers. They want simple solutions, and they don't want to think about it. They don't want to go down to the church and go, no, we need to actually do something. Like, why don't you guys organize something? Or like, I'm not fucking donating money to this church anymore. I'll put money into like paying for a recovery fee or something like that. But yeah, again, people just want to go along to get along. And to some degree, I get it. Like, it's being a human is fucking exhausting. But if we wanted to get better, we have to. And this takes me, you kind of touched on this, Dad, with the civil rights thing, the famous Martin Luther King quote of the arc of history bends towards justice. I think the arc of history does absolutely not bend towards justice, but I think it does when people bend it that way. But we have to do the bending, because they don't just get better. And I think that's a problem with history education in the United States. And as a history educator myself, I obviously have a dog in this fight, but we have to know that like these things don't just get better. It's because of people. We need to tell those stories. We need to learn about this kind of shit. Otherwise, I mean, no one's going to know. And everyone's just going to think, well, it just gets better, because it has been getting better.
Ted Cruz will just stay on vacation.
I hope, again, if he could stay on that vacation for a couple thousand years, Pilot wants to do one of the funniest things in history, that'd be great. Just take a private plane, Bermuda Triangle, have fun. Piece of shit. I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Leave Heidi the hell alone.
No, I mean, but
one of my favorite videos. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No. I want more of this Ted Cruz impression too. I like it.
The one of the funniest videos, and it's sad because it just shows what kind of political climate we're in. You can find this. I'm sure there's a million different video, whatever platform you use, but there's a video of him saying that, Donald, leave Heidi the hell alone. And then there's just a video of him sad with a Make America Great Again poster behind him phone banking for Trump. Just like absolute cuck shit. Get fucked forever. Literally hope you lose your job. And I never hear from you again. Horrible human being.
Yeah.
Fuck. Deport him back to Cuba, by the way.
That's true. Now, when we talk about that, like, Karl, you'd mentioned reform in history, the church. If we were to be serious about like faith communities or churches, like if they were actually serious about reform or serious about engagement in common culture right now, where do you think, like, where do we start with that? Is it like a theology issue? Is it like a leadership issue? Infrastructure, culture? I mean, where do you think it begins in the?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm kind of an anarchist in a way. I'd say you got to tear a lot of it down first to where they're like, they have to rethink things and say, I don't have enough power or money or congregants to win anymore. I now have to think about what's best for people and what's most loving and what's loving my neighbor means, really. And I think until some of that's removed from them, they love the power and the influence and the getting their way more than they care about people, as we see clearly in this example. And until it's torn down and until it's enough people deconstruct or whatever that takes, it's not going to get better, I don't think. I think they'll dig their heels in. I've seen pastors with 12 people in their church with their heels dug in and not changing. They would, one of the gross things we said earlier today, they would say, just their heels dug in. They're just, old and disruptive. And, so I don't know how much you have to take away from them before they say, wait a minute, should I think about this a little bit? Love your neighbor, care for the children, feed the world, be kind to immigrants.
Some of them never will. Some of them never will. Some of them might, but I think some of them never will. And then, those people are people that you have to just go, well, until you decide to get with the rest of the program, be a decent human being, have some empathy, like even a modicum, you're anathema. Like, we'll be here for you. We want to help you. We want to be your friend. We're not going to let you die or starve, but you don't get to make policy in the church or in government or anything. It's
make money.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think you should have those people, they should have a place to live. They should have food. They should have healthcare. But that's pretty much all you get. You don't get to get pat on the back. You don't get to get participation trophies for being an asshole. Sorry.
So those are the guys also that will say, that fund these kind of camps, that will say, touch not my anointed ones and do them no harm. You're just persecuting Christians. You're trying to make us do what you want us to do, you communists, and blah, 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 blah.
And children, always fear-mongering about children, but then they do absolutely fuck all to do anything about
them at
taking
risk.
care of them.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do the opposite of taking care of them. They put them in danger. Yeah.
Put them at risk, yeah.
But also thinking about camps, you were just making me ponder this. The ratio usually of for safety with adults to children in a lot of camps is nowhere near close. A lot of times the counselors are high school students for younger kids, and you've got just very few adults that are watching or even managing over that. It's funny how within Christianity we're way more apt to send our kids to a Christian camp, but question sending them somewhere else out in the world. Oh no, if they're to go to the mall alone, they could get trafficked or bad things could happen to them. Or if they went to this concert to watch this movie, oh no, it's not safe. But camp,
it has
totally
the label
safe.
Christian. It's
okay.
Christian.
They could die in a flood. They could be molested by the camp counselor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which happens
a lot.
A lot, yeah. Because people look for those positions if they're predatory. I will say from personal experience, not to throw my wonderful, lovely parents that I love very much under the bus, but they wouldn't let me go downtown most of the time to hang out where all the kids hang out, which actually was probably a good thing because there wasn't really anything interesting happening down there anyway. But the kids would all park in one of the parking lots and play music and do dumb shit. So, which again, probably not the worst idea to be you don't really need to go there, just play video games or do your homework or something. But they did send me to church camp, and they would also let me drive all the way 45 minutes to St. Joseph, Missouri to go to a church with probably 2 adults and a bunch of kids. And yeah, I don't know. I had fun at church camp, but none of the fun was any of the Christian shit. It was always throwing water balloons at the leader of our camp, by the way, is one of my favorite people, and not necessarily because of anything he was, or he didn't give me any wisdom or anything, but it was this very rotund man who wore knee-high socks and shorts all the time named Don Beaver. And on Facebook still, there's a thing where you can put your quotes or whatever, and one of my quotes still on Facebook right now is from Don Beaver, and it was the last day of camp and we were cleaning up, and the quote was, "Outside there is a sack of sacks," and that's one of my quotes. And there's another one I think I have about bees or something, but I don't know. Camp was super fun, but again, it wasn't because the Christian shit always sucks. We got to go to chapel. Fuck.
Yep.
And then we would get out and we would throw water balloons at dawn, or cause havoc. A kid tried to take me to the bed once and I kicked him in the face. That's a good story. It's super, super dangerous. Like we could have died many times over or been assaulted. So it's not good.
Yeah, I remember as a 13-year-old, like summer camp, like Christian summer camp was the best place to learn dirty jokes to bring back home. And so you're just like, this is awesome. Like, yeah, this is good camaraderie here at our Christian camp. We're learning all sorts of stuff that we're not supposed to know.
Yeah, we swore a lot at church camp. It was mostly like sitting in the bunks playing guitar, going swimming to try to look at the girls in their swimsuits. But they couldn't wear bikinis, and you couldn't hug them front. You had to do Christian side hug. So that was unfortunate, but yeah. I remember
the idea that as long as we put the girls in shirts over the bikinis, it'll be totally fine.
Yeah, it's fine. They definitely won't just wear white shirts that you can see through to show the boys, because we both want to see each other. Like it's
It's interesting.